Hey there, Wargamers, Justin here, Painter, and today I'm going to talk about Nova 2023 Capital Palette. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in today. If you are new here, please alpha strike that like and subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for having my six. I appreciate you having my back. Thanks for being an awesome lance mate, star mate, whatever the case may be for you. Appreciate you being here to help support what I do. That said, today I'm going to jump right into talking about my experiences at Nova 2023 in regards to the Capital Palette. So before we get started here, I want to give a big shout out to Dan Athanasol, also a patron of the channel, good friend of mine, helps run the Capital Palette show, and 3 years in a row, he has helped me get my entries into the Capital Palette because Death Redesigns is a unique case at Nova Open. We vend. We traditionally teach a paint class. This year that fell through the cracks on Nova's behalf, which next year hopefully I'll be handling a mecha paint class. But we typically teach and we run events. So we do all three. And for me in particular, being able to get down to enter my painted stuff into the Capital Palette is difficult when we're so busy because we're doing all of those things and I'm stretched really thin. So Dan helps me. This year it was before, kind of early before they were supposed to be open. He let me sneak some stuff in because, you know, I'm helping run stuff. And then in years past, he's helped me after hours do that, which was really nice. So big shout out to him. Thank you for helping me out. Big shout out to Sick Willie, I think is his name. Might be Sick Willie Miniatures on Instagram. I had an experience last year at Nova 2022 where I'm standing there talking to Dan, getting ready to enter some of my minis, and I took silver last year with my bust and a finalist pin for my diorama, and this guy's kind of next to me, and he looks over and he goes, you're the armed painter. And I was like, yeah, who are you? And I didn't know who it was, and his name's Will, Sick Willie on Instagram, and he actually won overall last year or something along those lines. I don't know if it's like fan favorite or best, however they pick it. He got like the big thing last year at Nova 2023, and the fact that this guy actually followed me on Instagram, and then I found out he was competing for Masterclass stuff last year, and at least I'm pretty sure he was competing for Masterclass because his piece with the red robes and the marble and the blood and all that stuff won. But he judged my piece last year, and then he judged my my bust this year as well. So that was pretty cool. I actually got to shake his hand at the award ceremony. I made sure that happened. And then Sam Lynn's, I just enjoy his art and his vibe. Super cool guy. He's like a metalhead rocker guy who paints minis, and it's super cool. And then a big shout out to Jason Craze from Monument Hobbies. Again, I use a lot of pro acrylic. It's my primary paint of choice, and he was a big sponsor of the Capital Palette Awards this year. And I got a gift card for my. I don't have my stuff in. I got a gift card as one of the prizes I won, and I already own all this paints. I actually got a couple of free paints as well in my little prize bag. And I was like, I already have all this. I don't want more paints. I'm just going to literally get merch that says Monument Hobbies and shirts and stuff so I can wear them on channel because I feel like that's a good use of the hobby dollars that I won. So it was pretty cool. Again, I know it's a shameless self-plug here, guys, but if you're looking to pick up some paints from American company out in Arizona, from a good guy, you can't go wrong with Monument Hobbies. Their pro acrylic line will change your life, I promise you. I've been there since they had the original size bottle. Now they've got their larger size bottles for a very competitive price relative to what's on the market. It's good stuff, I promise you. So that said, the shout outs out of the way, I want to talk about why I like the Capital Palette first and foremost. So I go to Adepticon every year now. I go to Nova every year, and Adepticon no longer has the crystal brush. For me to be able to enter a miniature or any type of artwork at Adepticon, it's got to be a Games Workshop mini for the Golden Demon. It's got to be an Atomic Mass mini or Fantasy Flight for Star Wars stuff or Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's got to be a Creature Caster for the Resin Beast, or it's got to be P3 for Privateer Press, right? That's it, as far as I know. There might be some other lingering thing I missed, but that's generally the big stuff. But when you go to Adepticon and you walk through the vendor hall, there's all kinds of busts and other minis and stuff that you want to do. And if I see a piece that calls to me, it's important. And the bust that I entered this year called to me. The bust I entered last year called to me. Actually, both of them, because I entered two. If I see something and it really says, hey, I want you to paint me, and it's weird, but in my head I get that vibe. I'm like, that means something to me. I want to do that. And at Adepticon, I can't do that. Because they don't have the open format, as an artist, I generally, unless there's something I'm missing, I have nowhere to enter anything. And it's not that I'm a crazy good artist. I think I'm pretty all right. It's a matter of I want to take all my emotions and my feelings at that given moment, and I want to pour it into a particular piece. And then because I put that there, it's a cathartic experience. I want to then put it on display. Win, lose, or otherwise, I want to be able to say that emotion that I felt, that catharsis came to full fruition because I put it in that case and other people are seeing it, and maybe they'll feel what I felt while I painted it, maybe they'll feel something different, but that's a goal for me. It's very important that I do that, and I paint usually like one bust a year. I probably have 50 busts right now that have called to me in some way, and I buy them, I put them in a box, and then one of them has to talk louder. I swear I'm not schizophrenic, but there'll be a pull or an urge to paint one, and when I get that urge, I grab that one. Out of all the ones that have called to me, I'll grab that one, and that's what I work on. So at Adepticon, I don't get that opportunity. It was really cool to see all the busts that were there. I know I'm talking about Adepticon, not Nova, but we'll get there. It was really cool to see all the busts there, and I've got a bunch from Nico Galaxy. I love their stuff. And a few others. I don't want to get into the bust brands right now because there's so many of them. Spear Mirabilis, if you're not following them on Instagram, their concept for bust is super cool. But anyway, so going into Nova, they have the Capital Palette. It's wide open. You can generally enter whatever you want. They got a variety of categories. The bust is always my primary. It's a big one for me. It's where I pour all of my heart. And this year I entered a bust, entered a diorama, entered a unit, entered a single model. And the bust that I painted this year, it is from, oh man, it's called Lock and Load. It's not Nico. Man, oh, it's eluding me right now. It'll come to me after I finish the video, but I bought that multiple years ago. I literally sat on it for years because it scared me. I didn't want to work on it. I don't want to get into the emotion of why that piece was so important to me because it's a rather sad story. But that piece, I painted that during a very dark time, and then the things that were bothering me that I poured into that mini, and it's a sad mini. I'll have photos up. I mean, you may not even see my face right now with the photos coming up. But it's a mini where she's holding like a rifle and her dog tags, or ostensibly a fallen comrade's dog tags, and there's blood everywhere. Cool tattoos that I did some freehand on. But that encapsulated how I felt at the time because I was feeling like I was going to experience a loss to some degree in my life, not in a literal way, but an emotional way. And then you fast forward some months and that actually occurred. So without getting into too many details. So I poured a lot into that piece. And I felt like, I mean, she's got mascara on and she's even got like the tear running down her face. And I even did like the little water reflection droplets in it. I was for sure pouring my soul into that piece. And my goal was this year, I wanted to place equal to last year or better. And I didn't do that. So we're starting with the sad part first. I still met my objective. I painted a piece. I poured my heart and soul into something, my emotion. I put it on display in the cabinet. I haven't been able to meet with Will to get feedback on why it did not place. I did get a finalist pin, but last year I got silver in the journeyman category. You have, oh God, it's killing me because my brain, it's at the end of the day at work and I'm tired. You have Journeyman, Masterclass, and Apprentice, Journeyman, Masterclass. So I enter my stuff into the middle because I think that that's where I'm at, somewhere in the middle of the pack. I'm not a master, I'm not new, I'm just me. So I was able to get it entered in last year. I got silver in my category for bust. This year I did not. I didn't get bronze, I got a finalist, so I was a little bit crushed. I won't say, disappointed. I won't say sad. I was crushed and disappointed because I worked so hard. But it is what it is. You got to roll the punches and try and do better. Judging from year to year may be subjective, but because the guy who judged my piece last year judged it this year, I thought the feedback might be really good, but I have not been able to communicate with him. So that piece in particular didn't do as well as I hoped, but I did meet my objective, poured all my emotions and my heart into something to get my feelings out, get it flow through the brush and onto that piece, and then display it for the world. And the feedback I've got from people who have seen it in person and photos is that they kind of feel her hurt and her pain. And that was kind of the point. It's not a happy piece. The koi fish may say otherwise because they're cool tattoo. I don't do a lot of freehand. I actually did freehand on it. The koi fish may say one thing. Maybe for me, maybe that's showing some kind of hope. She's got this fresh ink and maybe that's a sign of like there's something good. There's something not gritty on this piece because it's a new thing, a new chapter perhaps, but everything else about her is dirty, it's run down, there's blood, and she's sad. So, you know, sometimes you got to pick yourself up, you got to dust off, you got to clean yourself up and move forward, and I think that's an interesting juxtaposition for my piece, but it did not place. I'll take the finalist pin and I will try and do better next year. We'll see what I come up with. Moving on, I entered, we'll start with the lower stuff first. I entered my Northwind Highlanders catapult as the single category, single model, and I got a finalist pin, and my gut instinct was to enter one of my Jade Falcons or one of my Clan Wolf minis, but I chose to do something different. I'm still happy that a Battletech mini got finalist in a category that is overrun with very nicely sculpted Games Workshop minis and other stuff of similar caliber. A Battletech mini got finalist in the single mini entry. That's pretty badass. Not to pat myself on the back, but the fact that a Battletech mini, sculpt-wise with paint, was able to stack up to a point that it was in contention for placing. That's pretty cool. And as someone who's focused on their channel right now is promoting and pushing Battletech, I was like, hell yeah, that's cool, right? So when they did the award ceremony, I get a message from Dan. He texts me. He's like, you coming to the award ceremony? He's like, Dan, I'm working, man. I got to run the booth. Should I be there? And he goes, you should be here. And then I get another text message from one of the other guys that works at Nova, and he's got a picture. Actually, I think two people. I think Justin West sent me one too. There's a picture at the award ceremony. They had announced that I had got a finalist pin for the Highlander catapult, and I wasn't there to accept it. And I was like, oh, well, I missed all my awards last year. They had to mail them to me. Actually, Dan might have handed them to me in person at Southern Assault, but regardless, that happened in some capacity. And I missed it, and I was like, oh, man. All right, so I come down there. I literally turn the corner. Jay from Warsenal is helping me find where this room is. I get there. They're lined out the hall, and I'm at the door, and I was like, oh, am I supposed to just walk in? And I'm very confused. And about that time, I text Dan. I go, Dan, am I supposed to come in? And he goes, if they call your name, come in. And I was like, okay. And then they go, blah, 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 finalist, Justin Hall, Bite the Bullet or whatever. And it was my bust. And I was like, oh. And I got a little nervous. And then I was crushed because I didn't place as well as I wanted to. So I go up there, get my pin. I was like, all right, cool. I was here for this one. Then I get called up for my next piece that did place for unit category, my Raptor Keshik Jade Falcons, which my Northwind Highlanders catapult was a CSO mini as well. Camo Specs Online, it is one that's on the website. My Jade Falcons, the Timberwolf that's center on this display, is a CSO mini as well. I got approved. I took this display plinth and or stand and brought them as a unit entry. And I got silver in Journeyman for unit. And I was like, hell yes! Battletech second award. Sort of, the finalist pin is small, but like I got silver. That's super cool. In a category full, again, of Games Workshop minis and Space Marines and all these scopes that are so good, Battletech minis were up on the podium. And I was like, hell yes! Like, again, casting a light on this community and these minis. I thought that was super cool, and it's funny that the Jade Falcon's actually placed because I'm not a big Jade Falcon fan. I just painted him because Randall Bills gave me that Alpha Strike box for free, and I told him I'd do some content with it, and I painted those minis up, CSO, did some videos, whatever, and then they placed, and I was like, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I walked back to, so I've gone up, this is the second time, would have been third if I didn't miss the Highlander, so I go up for Bite the Bullet, my bust, then I get called for the unit, and I go up and I get the Jade Falcons, and then I walk back to the back of the room, and then they call for dioramas, and I get silver for my Wolf's Dragoons diorama. And one of these minis at the front, the Stormwolf, is actually a CSO mini. So I bring this diorama, and I get the silver, more Battletech, more light cast on it. Again, a category with dioramas, and a category that could be heavily dominated by Games Workshop and other very nicely sculpted minis. I was able to get Battletech injected in that conversation onto the podium, right? That's awesome. I was so excited about that. I'm excited that I placed, but more excited that Battletech was front and center, and you're seeing photos of this, and it's really cool. So I get this award. I walk up, they take the photos. I walk back down the middle of the room again, past the photographer, all worried and nervous and like feeling like I'm out of place because there's like 100 people in this room staring at you. As soon as I get back to the back of the room, they say, and best in class, Justin Hall, Wolf's Dragoons. And as soon as I got back to the back of the room, I had to walk back up there, and I was like, super nervous at that point. I do YouTube videos, I've done Twitch, I had gone up for those other awards already, and I get up there, and now it's just me on the stage with Will, Sam Lins, and Jason Craze, and I didn't know what to do. I was like public speaking. I was very nervous. I was confused. I even said to the crowd, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or something like that. And then Sam Lynn goes, whatever you want to do, you won, which was pretty funny. And then Jason says to me, he's like, you back up here again for more goodies, which was pretty funny. And he gives me my bag and I get the stuff. And that's when I shook Will's hand and Sam's hand and we took photos, and I probably looked like a complete jackass, if I'm honest with you. But I was very nervous. And yeah, so I want to segue from the nervous point, just hold that for a moment. We're going to talk about that in a second. And say that I had a great time. I'm disappointed still that my bust didn't place, room for growth. But from a Battletech perspective, 3 of my pieces that I entered of the 4 were Battletech. 3 technically placed, 1 with a finalist, 2 with silver. 1 of those was best in class. There were no golds for dioramas. Mine was the best. It just wasn't gold level. And then all 4 of my entries, I'll count the finalist pin as placing to some degree. It just wasn't in the top 3. So it's, it got an award or, noting. That's still pretty good. So I walked away with technically 5 trinkets, and 2 of which were silver, and 1 was this little glass thingamajig. That's really cool, and the fact that 75% of the things I entered were Battletech, and they were all up there on display, and people were seeing them, and I was promoting Battletech. That's good. Feels good. I'm not sure what I'll do next year. We'll see. Definitely have at least a bust. I'll probably try and do another diorama, maybe some more Wolf's Dragoons based on some Anthony Scroggins art. We'll see. That said, back on the nervous thing, this is a hard topic to approach, and some of you guys may relate and some may not. I'm going to use a term that is imposter syndrome, and that strikes home for me. I live streamed part-time, like 20, 30 hours a week for several years, and I quit because anxiety and depression were really weighing on me, and you start to grow a community and you have all these eyes on you, and then you start not feeling worthy. You start not feeling like you're thinking like, why do I deserve this attention relative to someone else? And that's a dangerous cycle. And it is hard if you struggle with your self-worth, right? Especially in regards to creating content where your self-worth is also kind of associated with likes, subscribes, clicks, and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, if, you lose track of that, lose sight of it, you start to feel like, if these things aren't high, I'm not worthy, right? So imposter syndrome being that you don't feel like you belong, you don't feel like you're worthy for this thing that you're being recognized for. So when I got called up for best in class, that is why it struck me. I was nervous. My demeanor completely changed, and then I borderline almost panicked because I didn't feel like I belonged up there. And that is a hard pill to swallow. And I know some of you may think it's bullshit, it's insincere, but it truly is. Some people might be like, well, you got an award, what are you worried about, that type of thing. But I promise you, it is often hard to accept compliments from people, and that's the very minimal award, a small trinket that someone gives you to take with you when they say, hey, this looks good, I like what you did. It's hard for me to even accept that because I'm a really hard critic on my own work, and for someone to tell me that this looks good, or you are good, or this is the best thing here that was entered in this case, that's very difficult for me. So that was a very hard experience. And I would hope that I'm still going to enter pieces. I'm still going to do what I do because, again, promoting Battletech is important. But when I painted that bust, that was emotion and feeling that went into it. When I painted my Wolf's Dragoons and made the diorama, there was a certain feeling in it. It's different. It wasn't what the bust was for, but a certain feeling. When I painted those Jade Falcons, there's a certain motivation, a certain thought, a certain flow of me going through the brush to the mini. The same thing with the Highlander. It is a cathartic experience. I don't want the imposter syndrome and panicky anxiety to take away from that, much like I would not want it to take away anything from you. So if I could take a moment while we have kind of talked about my art, my success, so to speak, or my shortcomings as I feel it was in regards to my bust, to encourage you to paint your models and not give a shit what anyone else thinks about those. Take critique, constructive critique, with a grain of salt, and if you value the opinion of that person sharing it with you, aim for growth. If someone's being mean just to be mean, ignore that. Don't let it weigh you down, and allow yourself to feel good sometimes. It is okay to get compliments. It's okay to be rewarded. You worked hard for that. If that happens to come. If it doesn't, it's no indication of your self-worth. It just is what it is. It's competition. So you have to prep yourself and be aware of what you're getting yourself into. I tell everyone that goes to Nova to enter their pieces Much like I told everyone at the Battletech event that I ran that they didn't put all their minis up for display, and I said you should. Don't be ashamed of that. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're good or bad or otherwise. Promote your art. Promote, you did this, you painted this, whether you feel it or not. Something was going through your mind, and channel through that brush to paint those minis. Share it with people. It might motivate them. At Nova this year, I was told there were 600 and something entries to Capital Palette. I think it was a record for them. 500 and something, I was told, were in the Journeyman category, which leaves 100 and something for Apprentice and Masterclass. If you don't feel like you're on my level, or equal to or better, and you feel like you would skew towards towards Apprentice, and you think that's where you are, like honestly, you know, put yourself where you think you belong, and be honest with yourself. I don't put myself on Apprentice to try and get awards, right? Because once you place gold or whatever, they force you to bump up. I've never gotten that in an Apprentice, and I won't put myself there because I feel like this is where I belong, and that's fair for me. But if you feel like your art is on one of these categories, please come enter, especially if you are new. If you're an existing artist, I would encourage you to, but again, of these 600 and something entries, only 100 and something were in the top category and the bottom. The majority were in the middle. If you are a new artist, an up-and-coming artist, someone who's pushing for growth right out the door, there's a category for you that is underrepresented. It is a place for you to showcase your skills and showcase to the other people who might be afraid to put their art in that case that they shouldn't be. So please, if you can take anything from my experience, good, bad, or otherwise, swallow your pride, try and overcome anxiety and fear, and paint your damn models. If you've made it this far in the video, either you like listening to me ramble, or you like some of the things I say, or hopefully both, and I want to motivate you. Get out there and play your games and enjoy Battletech, but art is a major thing. You're going to spend probably more time painting, or at least if you're like me, more time painting than you do gaming, and that art will be there with you forever. There will come a time where you can't get a game. There's going to come a time where you can't roll dice. There's going to come a time where Battletech may not exist anymore. There's going to come a time when your friends move or they're no longer around. Those minis you painted, that experience you forged with those minis, you'll carry that forever. So I can paint this bust, and I may not have placed the way I wanted. It's going to go on my shelf. It will be there. I will remember that experience. It will have taken and encapsulated the negative feelings I had at the time, and I took them out and I put them somewhere else. And I can know, hey, things might have been bad then, but they're not now. In regards to your art for your miniatures, you could do the same. Good, bad, or otherwise, whatever feelings you have. Maybe you're going through a bad experience. You know, maybe something's going on with your family or yourself or your life or whatever it is. And those minis can remind you of a good time. They can remind you of a bad time, but they can remind you of how you got through that bad time too, and always remind you that you did this, you achieved something, and no one can take that from you. So please, again, if you can learn anything from my experience, my art, and what I have showcased, and anything I've rambled about, paint your models, be proud of what you do, and focus on what your growth, and don't stack yourself up to someone else. Take the critique where it's necessary, grow as necessary, and focus on your art. That said, guys, as we wrap up today, I know that was a bit of a serious chat, but I wanted to talk about it because art is, whether you think about it or not, it can be something very therapeutic and important, and it is important to me. More important than the Battletech is, because I spend more time painting than I do gaming, and it's something that, if I'm honest, it's helped me through a lot, and I hope it does for you too. So if you want to help support what I do, check out Fortress Miniatures and Games, big sponsor of the channel, where you can pick up art supplies and miniatures of your own if you'd like to have that cathartic experience. If you're looking to pick up some paints as well, check out Monument Hobbies, Pro Acrylic, links and discounts in the description down below. If you want to support me in my day job, Death Ray Designs, pick up some terrain third-party minis, anything at all will help support what I do. And finally, if you like listening to me ramble, you want to help broaden this light that I'm trying to cast into the darkness that is the internet, to shine a light on positivity, minis, and painting, consider becoming a patron. That said, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, keep painting your models, keep rolling your dice, and I will catch you guys next time.